Powered Industrial Truck, Classroom Training, Metropolitan Operator Onboarding Program. Welcome to Metropolitan's Powered Industrial Truck Classroom Training. This program is the formal instruction component of Metropolitan's OSHA and Cal-OSHA compliant forklift operator certification program, designed specifically for our final mile furniture delivery warehousing operations. Program overview. Metropolitan operates 45-plus locations, 15-plus with forklift operations across our network. This standardized classroom training ensures every Metropolitan operator, whether at our largest distribution center or our smallest local warehouse, receives the same thorough, high-quality instruction. This training fulfills the formal instruction requirement of OSHA 29 CFR 1910-178L and Cal-OSHA Title 8, Section 3668. Under these regulations, operator certification requires three components. 1. Formal classroom instruction, which you are completing now. 2. Practical hands-on training with the specific equipment you will operate. And 3. A workplace performance evaluation conducted by a qualified trainer. You must successfully complete all three components before you are authorized to operate any powered industrial truck at any Metropolitan facility.
Classroom session details. Duration, approximately 45-60 minutes, depending on discussion and questions. Audience, new and new-to Metropolitan operators being certified for the first time in this facility, and operators requiring recertification, incident, accident, 3-year renewal. What this training covers. This classroom session will cover the following OSHA-required truck-related and workplace-related topics. Why this training matters. The legal and safety case for proper certification. How forklifts differ from cars. Rear-wheel steering, tipping risks, and seatbelt requirements. The stability triangle, understanding how forklifts maintain balance. Reading the capacity plate, knowing your equipment's limits. Daily pre-use inspection, what to check before every shift. Battery and charging safety, PPE, hydrogen gas hazards, and spill response. Safe operating rules, speed, visibility, passengers, and load position. Load handling best practices, approach, securing, and transport. Equipment-specific safety points. Walkie pallet jacks, ride-on pallet jacks, electric tugs, sit-down forklifts, reach trucks, and order pickers. Participation is required. Questions are encouraged throughout, and all participants must pass both a written evaluation and a hands-on practical evaluation to receive certification. Certification records, including operator name, training date, evaluation date, and trainer identity, will be maintained on file at this location and to be accessible for OSHA, Cal-OSHA, or internal audits at any time.
Why this training matters. Has anyone here ever seen or been involved in a forklift-related incident, even a close call? The case for training. Forklift incidents are among the most preventable workplace injuries, yet they remain one of the leading causes of serious injury and death in warehouse environments. According to OSHA and NIOSH data, approximately 85 workers are killed and nearly 35,000 are seriously injured in forklift-related incidents every year in the United States. These are not freak accidents. The overwhelming majority are caused by lack of training, complacency, shortcuts, and failure to follow established safety procedures. At Metropolitan, we handle new furniture, large, heavy, often awkwardly shaped items across 45 warehouse locations. Our operators work in environments with mixed pedestrian and forklift traffic, tight aisle configurations, dock areas, trailers, and varying floor conditions. These are exactly the conditions where proper training makes the difference between a safe shift and a life-altering incident. Legal requirements. Both OSHA, 29 CFR 1919.178, and Cal-OSHA, Title 8, Section 3668, require that every powered industrial truck operator complete a formal training and certification program before operating any PIT. This is not a suggestion or a best practice. It is federal and state law. Operating PITs without proper certification exposes Metropolitan to OSHA and Cal-OSHA fines and puts the lives of our team members at risk.
What this means for you. Only authorized and certified operators may operate powered industrial trucks at any Metropolitan facility. Operating equipment without valid certification is a serious policy violation.
Your responsibility as an operator is to complete this training, demonstrate competency during the practical evaluation, and then apply what you've learned every single day on the job. Training is not a one-time event. It is the foundation of a safety mindset that you carry with you every shift. Every person in this room has the ability to prevent the next accident. That starts with paying attention right now and taking this training seriously.
Legal requirements, OSHA and Cal-OSHA compliance. This section covers the specific legal framework that governs forklift operator training. Operators need to understand that this training is not optional. It is a regulatory requirement with real consequences for non-compliance. The three-part training requirement. Under OSHA 29 CFR 1910.178L and Cal-OSHA Title 8, Section 3668, operator certification requires three distinct components. Skipping any one of them makes the entire program non-compliant. 1. Formal instruction. Classroom. This is what you are completing right now. It includes lectures, discussion, visual materials, and video content covering both truck-related topics, how the equipment works, its controls, capacity, stability, and inspection requirements, and workplace-related topics, surface conditions, load composition, pedestrian traffic, and hazards specific to this hub. OSHA accepts classroom instruction, interactive computer-based learning, video, and written materials for this component. 2. Practical training. Hands-on. After the classroom session, you will receive hands-on training with the specific equipment you will be authorized to operate. This includes demonstrations by qualified operators, followed by supervised practice where you operate the equipment yourself. This must be done in person, on the actual equipment, in conditions similar to your workplace. 3. Performance evaluation. Skills assessment. A qualified trainer will observe and evaluate your ability to operate the equipment safely in the workplace. This evaluation confirms that you can apply what you learned in the classroom and during practical training to real-world operating conditions. You must demonstrate competency before you are authorized to operate independently.
Trainer qualifications. OSHA requires that training be conducted by persons who have the knowledge, training, and experience to train operators and evaluate their competence. There is no government-issued trainer license, but the trainer must be genuinely qualified. At Metropolitan, only designated, qualified trainers are authorized to conduct PIT training and certification. Certification documentation. Upon successful completion of all three components, Metropolitan will create a certification record that includes 1. The operator's name, 2. The date of training, 3. The date of evaluation, and 4. The identity of the person who conducted the training and evaluation. These records must be maintained on file and be accessible for OSHA or Cal-OSHA inspection at any time. Recertification and refresher training. Your certification is not permanent. OSHA requires a performance evaluation at least every 3 years. Additionally, refresher training is required whenever A. You are involved in an incident or near miss. B. You are observed operating unsafely. C. You are assigned to operate a different type of PIT. Or D. Conditions in the warehouse change in a way that affects safe operation. Metropolitan will track certification dates and ensure recertification happens on schedule. If you are not certified, you cannot operate. If your certification expires, you cannot operate. If you have an incident and haven't completed refresher training, you cannot operate. There are no exceptions. Now that you understand the legal framework, let's talk about what makes forklifts fundamentally different from the vehicles you drive every day.
How forklifts differ from cars. This is one of the most important conceptual sections in the entire training. Most new operators instinctively try to drive a forklift the way they drive a car. That instinct is dangerous. Ask the room. Almost everything you know about driving a car works differently on a forklift. If you don't understand these differences, you will make mistakes that can result in serious injury or death. Rear wheel steering. Cars steer from the front wheels. Forklifts steer from the rear wheels. This is the single most important difference to understand. When you turn the steering wheel on a forklift, the back end of the machine swings out, wide and fast. This means the rear of the forklift takes a much wider path than the front during turns. You must check behind and to the sides before turning to ensure the rear end won't strike a person, rack, product, or wall. Turns feel sharper and more abrupt than in a car, especially at speed. It takes practice to develop the muscle memory for rear-wheel steering. Do not assume you'll figure it out on your own. Tipping risk and center of gravity. Forklifts have a much higher center of gravity than cars, especially when carrying a load. The stability base, the area between the front wheels and the rear axle pivot, is much smaller than a car's footprint. This makes forklifts far more prone to tipping, which is the #1 cause of forklift fatalities nationwide. Factors that increase tipping risk include elevated loads. The higher the load, the less stable the forklift. Turning while carrying a load, especially at speed. Operating on uneven surfaces, ramps, or inclines. Sudden braking or acceleration. We will cover the stability triangle in detail on the next slide.
Seatbelt use. Seatbelt use is mandatory on all sit-down forklifts at Metropolitan. In a tip-over event, the seatbelt keeps you inside the protective overhead guard, the cage that is designed to create a survival space around you. Without a seatbelt, operators are thrown from the cab and crushed by the falling forklift. The most dangerous thing you can do in a tip-over is jump out. Operators who jump are statistically far more likely to be killed or suffer catastrophic injury than those who stay belted in and brace themselves. If the forklift starts to tip, do not jump. Stay in the cab. Grip the steering wheel. Brace yourself. Lean away from the direction of the fall. The overhead guard is there to protect you, but only if you stay inside it. Constant load management. Unlike a car, a forklift carries heavy loads that continuously shift its center of gravity. Every time you pick up, move, raise, lower, tilt, or set down a load, the dynamics of the machine change. You must constantly think about where the weight is and how it affects stability. This is not something cars require. It is unique to powered industrial trucks and requires your full attention at all times. A forklift is not a car. It steers differently, tips differently, and carries weight differently. Respect these differences every time you get on the equipment.
The stability triangle. This is the core physics concept behind every forklift tip-over. If operators understand the stability triangle, they understand why nearly every safety rule in this training exists. The 3 points of stability. Every forklift stability depends on 3 points that form a triangle: the 2 front wheels and the rear axle pivot point, which acts as the steering pivot. Imagine drawing lines between these 3 points. That triangle is your stability zone. The forklift remains stable only when the combined center of gravity of the forklift and its load stays within this triangle. How load placement affects stability. When you pick up a load, the combined center of gravity shifts forward toward the front axle. The heavier the load, the further forward the center of gravity moves. If the load is too heavy, too high, or positioned too far forward on the forks, the center of gravity can move outside the stability triangle, and the forklift tips forward. But forward tip-overs are not the only risk. Lateral, side tip-overs are extremely common and extremely dangerous. When you turn, especially with a load, centrifugal force pushes the center of gravity to the outside of the turn. If the center of gravity moves outside the triangle laterally, the forklift tips sideways. Lateral tip-overs are the leading cause of forklift fatalities because they happen fast and give the operator almost no time to react.
Key stability rules. Based on the stability triangle concept, these rules must be followed at all times. 1. Never turn a raised load. This shifts the center of gravity sideways and dramatically increases the risk of lateral tip-over. 2. Keep loads low while traveling. Forks and loads should be 4 to 6 inches off the ground. The lower the load, the lower the center of gravity, and the more stable the forklift. 3. Tilt the load slightly back when traveling. This shifts the center of gravity rearward, keeping it closer to the center of the stability triangle. 4. Slow down before turns. Reduce speed before entering a turn, not during the turn. Speed combined with turning creates the centrifugal force that causes lateral tip-overs. 5. On ramps and inclines. Drive forward going up the ramp and in reverse going down, so the load is always on the uphill side. 6. Never exceed the rated capacity.
Overloading sifts the center of gravity too far forward and outside the triangle. Video, https://u2.be/fmhemvtea4. Now that you understand stability, let's look at capacity, how much your forklift can actually lift safely, and how you determine that.
Reading the pit capacity plate. This section connects directly to the stability triangle. The capacity plate tells you the limits of the machine, and those limits are directly tied to the physics of stability. Every operator must know how to read the capacity plate and understand that capacity is not a fixed number. What the capacity plate tells you. Every powered industrial truck has a capacity plate, also called a data plate or nameplate, typically located on the dashboard or near the operator's seat. This plate is the most important piece of information on the entire machine. It tells you truck model and serial number, identifies the specific machine, maximum rated capacity, the maximum weight the forklift can lift under specific conditions, load center distance, the assumed horizontal distance from the face of the forks to the center of gravity of the load, typically 24 inches for standard forklifts, maximum lift height, the highest point the mast can raise a load, truck weight, how much the forklift itself weighs, important for understanding floor load limits and ramp ratings, approved attachments, any attachments, clamps, side shifters, rotators that were factored into the capacity rating. Capacity is not a fixed number. This is the concept most operators get wrong. The number on the capacity plate is the maximum rated capacity under ideal conditions, meaning the load center, lift height, and attachments all match what's listed on the plate. Capacity decreases when the load center moves outward. Wider or longer loads shift the center of gravity further from the mast, reducing how much the forklift can safely lift. A load rated at 5,000 pounds at a 24-inch load center may only be safe at 3,500 pounds at a 36-inch load center.
The lift height increases. The higher you raise a load, the less stable the forklift becomes. Some capacity plates show reduced ratings at lift heights. Attachments are added. Clamps, rotators, side shifters, and other attachments add weight to the front of the forklift and extend the effective load center, reducing the rated capacity. The capacity plate must reflect any attachments currently installed. Think about the furniture we handle at Metropolitan. A sofa on a pallet might be light, but it's long. That extended load center reduces your effective capacity. A stack of boxed mattresses might be within the weight limit, but if it's stacked high, your lift height reduces capacity. You have to think about these factors before every lift. Safety rules for capacity. Never exceed the rated capacity listed on the plate for the current conditions. If you are unsure whether a load is within capacity, stop. Do not guess. Verify the load weight and compare it to the plate's rating for the actual load center and lift height. If the capacity plate is missing, damaged, unreadable, or does not match the attachments currently installed, do not operate the forklift. Tag it out of service immediately and report it to your supervisor. An unreadable or missing capacity plate is a serious safety and compliance issue. Before you even drive the forklift, there's something critical you must do every single shift, and that's the pre-use inspection.
Daily pre-use inspection. The daily pre-use inspection is not a formality. It is an OSHA and Cal-OSHA requirement, and one of the most effective ways to prevent equipment-related incidents. This inspection must be completed at the beginning of every shift before the forklift is operated, no exceptions. Why inspections matter? Equipment failures contribute to a significant number of forklift incidents. Brakes that don't stop properly, steering that pulls to one side, forks that are cracked, tires that are damaged. These are all conditions that can lead to serious accidents. The daily inspection is your opportunity to catch these issues before they cause harm. Think of it as your personal safety check. You are confirming that the machine you are about to operate is safe for you and everyone around you. What to inspect? Walk through each inspection area systematically. Metropolitan uses a standardized inspection form that you will complete each shift. Here are the key areas. Tires. Check for wear, damage, chunking, pieces missing, flat spots, and cuts. Damaged tires affect stability and steering, both critical safety factors. Forks and mast.
Visually inspect the forks for cracks, bending, uneven wear, or damage. Forks should be straight and level. Bent or uneven forks can cause loads to shift or fall. Inspect the mast and chains for visible damage, wear, or lubrication issues. Brakes. Test both the service brake, foot brake, and the parking brake. The forklift must stop within a reasonable distance when the service brake is applied. The parking brake must hold the forklift stationary on a flat surface. If either brake is not functioning properly, the forklift must be taken out of service. Steering. Check for excessive play, looseness, in the steering wheel or difficulty turning. The steering must be responsive and smooth. Horn. Test the horn. It must work. The horn is your primary warning device for intersections, blind corners, and pedestrian areas.
Lights. Check headlights, taillights, and any strobe or warning lights. All must be functional, especially if you operate in low-light areas, trailers, or near dock openings. Safety devices. Verify that the seatbelt is present and functional. Sit-down forklifts. Check the overhead guard for damage. Confirm the load backrest is in place. Test warning alarms, including backup alarms if equipped. Fluids and battery. For propane units, check for leaks and confirm the tank is properly secured. For electric units, check the battery charge level, inspect battery cables and connections for damage or corrosion, and look for any signs of acid leaks. Hydraulic system. Operate the lift, tilt, and side shift controls to confirm smooth, responsive operation. Look for hydraulic fluid leaks around the mast, cylinders, and hoses. Documenting the inspection. All inspection findings must be documented on Metropolitan's pre-use inspection form. This form becomes part of the compliance record for the equipment. Complete the form honestly and thoroughly. If you identify a defect, document it clearly. If a defect is found. If any defect or safety concern is identified during the inspection, do not operate the forklift. Tag the equipment out of service using the appropriate lockout-tagout procedure and report the issue to your supervisor immediately. Do not assume someone else will fix it. Do not operate a defective forklift just for this one load. I've seen situations where an operator noticed soft brakes during the inspection, decided to deal with it later, and struck a rack 2 hours into the shift. That rack collapse injured a coworker. The inspection caught the problem. The operator chose to ignore it. Don't be that person. During the practical evaluation, you will be required to perform a complete pre-use inspection on your own. You need to know every item on this checklist. Battery and charging safety. This section applies to all electric-powered industrial trucks at Metropolitan. Battery handling and charging are high-risk activities that involve chemical, electrical, and fire/explosion hazards. Even experienced operators sometimes underestimate the dangers. Section 1. Required PPE. Battery acid is sulfuric acid, one of the most corrosive substances in a warehouse environment. Direct contact with skin causes severe chemical burns. Contact with eyes can cause permanent blindness. The following personal protective equipment is mandatory whenever handling, inspecting, connecting, disconnecting, or charging batteries. Acid-resistant gloves. Protect hands from acid splashes and electrical contact. Safety goggles. Protect eyes from acid splashes. Regular safety glasses are not sufficient. You need splash-proof goggles. Face shield. Worn over goggles for additional face protection during battery handling. Acid-resistant apron. Protects clothing and torso from acid splashes. Does everyone know where the nearest eye wash station is in this warehouse? Section 2. No smoking or open flames. During the charging process, lead-acid batteries release hydrogen gas. Hydrogen is highly flammable and explosive. Even a small spark can ignite it. This is why. Smoking is strictly prohibited inside any Metropolitan warehouse and within 25 feet of the facility exterior. This is a Metropolitan company policy and is consistent with OSHA requirements for battery charging areas. Open flames are prohibited near charging areas. This includes lighters, matches, and any spark-producing equipment.
Welding, cutting, or grinding operations must never be performed near battery charging stations without proper safety protocols and hot work permits. Hydrogen gas is invisible and odorless. You cannot see it or smell it. It accumulates around the battery during charging. All it takes is one spark, from a cigarette, a lighter, a static discharge, or a metal tool dropping on a battery terminal, and you have an explosion. People have been seriously burned and killed by hydrogen gas explosions in battery charging areas. Section 3. Charging and spill procedures. Proper charging procedures protect both the operator and the equipment. Charge batteries only in designated, well-ventilated charging areas. Ventilation is critical to disperse hydrogen gas. Never charge batteries in enclosed or poorly ventilated spaces. Follow the manufacturer's charging guidelines. Do not overcharge, interrupt charging cycles unnecessarily, or use incompatible chargers. Connect and disconnect chargers with the charger powered off to avoid sparking. Allow batteries to cool before and after charging if they are excessively hot. If a battery acid spill occurs, 1. Contain the spill immediately to prevent it from spreading. 2. Apply neutralizing agent, baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, to the spill. 3. Clean up the neutralized material with appropriate absorbent materials. 4. Dispose of all waste materials according to your location's hazardous materials procedures. 5. Report the spill to your supervisor immediately, regardless of size. Battery acid and hydrogen gas are serious hazards. Always wear your PPE, never smoke or create sparks near charging areas, know where your eye wash station is, and know your spill response procedure. If you're unsure about anything related to battery handling, ask before you act.
Safe operating rules. These rules apply to every powered industrial truck at every metropolitan location. Regardless of what equipment you operate, walkie pallet jack, ride-on, reach truck, sit-down forklift, or tug, these principles are universal. Rule 1. Keep loads low. When traveling with a load, keep the forks and load 4 to 6 inches off the ground with the mass tilted slightly back. This is not arbitrary. It is directly tied to the stability triangle. A low load keeps the center of gravity low, which maximizes stability and minimizes the risk of tip over. A raised load shifts the center of gravity upward and forward, making the forklift unstable, especially during turns or on uneven surfaces. Think about when you're moving a pallet of boxed furniture across the warehouse floor. If you're traveling with that pallet raised 3 or 4 feet in the air, you're top-heavy and unstable. One slight turn and you could tip. Keep it low, 4 to 6 inches. It only takes an extra few seconds to lower the load before traveling, and it could save your life. Rule 2. No passengers. Never allow anyone to ride on the forklift, forks, attachments, or load. The only person on the equipment is the trained, certified operator. This applies to all PITs, no exceptions. Passengers on forks, platforms, or loads can fall, be crushed, or be struck. At Metropolitan and in the broader industry, carrying unauthorized passengers is considered a serious safety violation and can result in immediate disciplinary action up to and including termination. Rule 3. Maintain visibility. Always look in the direct travel. If the load blocks your forward view, you have 2 options: travel in reverse or use a spotter. At Metropolitan, our furniture loads can be large and tall. Sofas, large bookcases, entertainment centers, and they can easily block your line of sight. Never assume the path is clear if you can't see it. Additional visibility rules. At intersections, slow down, sound the horn, and look both ways before proceeding. Use mirrors where available, and be aware of blind spots. When exiting a building, doorway, or trailer, slow down and allow your eyes to adjust to changing light conditions. Be especially alert at dock areas where pedestrians, other forklifts, and IC trucks may be present. Rule 4. Operate at safe speeds. There is no single safe speed that applies in all situations. Safe speed depends on the specific conditions you are operating in at that moment: floor surface conditions, congestion, load weight, visibility, proximity to pedestrians, and aisle width. The fundamental rule is you must always be able to stop within the clear distance ahead of you. If you cannot stop safely in the space you can see, you are going too fast. Slow down in areas with pedestrian traffic, near doorways and dock areas, at intersections and blind corners, in narrow aisles and tight spaces, on wet, oily, or uneven surfaces, when carrying heavy or unstable loads. Speed is the most common factor in forklift incidents.
Operators get comfortable, start moving faster, and then something unexpected happens. A pedestrian steps out, a pallet is sticking into the aisle, the floor is wet. If you're moving too fast, you can't stop in time. Slow is smooth, smooth is safe. Now let's talk about the right way to handle loads, from approach to placement.
Load handling best practices. Proper load handling is where the principles from the previous slides, stability triangle, capacity plate, safe operating rules, all come together in practice. How you approach, pick up, carry, and set down a load determines whether the operation is safe or dangerous. At Metropolitan, we handle furniture, products that are often heavy, oddly shaped, and high value. Damaged product costs money, but unsafe load handling can cost lives. Best practice 1. Approach the load squarely. Always drive straight into the pallet or load, approaching at a 90-degree angle. Approaching at an angle causes uneven fork engagement. One fork goes deeper than the other, the load sits off-center, and the risk of the load shifting, tipping, or falling increases dramatically. Once squared up, center the forks under the load by adjusting your position before inserting. Spread the forks as wide as possible for maximum stability. Wider fork spacing distributes the weight more evenly. Insert the forks fully into the pallet. Partial insertion means the load is supported on less surface area and can slide off or cause the forks to bend. Think about picking up a heavy box with 2 fingers versus your whole hand. Full fork insertion is like using your whole hand. It gives you a solid grip on the load. Best practice 2. Secure the load. Before traveling, visually confirm the load is stable. The load is not leaning, tilting, or overhanging the forks. Wrapping, banding, or strapping is intact. Nothing is loose on top that could fall during transport. The load is within the rated capacity of the forklift. At Metropolitan, furniture packaging varies. Some pieces are boxed and palletized neatly, others may be wrapped loosely or stacked irregularly. Take the extra moment to confirm the load is secure. A falling load can crush a pedestrian, damage other product, and cause a serious incident.
Best practice 3. Proper reach truck and forklift technique. For reach trucks, extend the forks fully into the pallet before lifting. Keep loads low to the ground during travel. Raise only when placing or removing product at height. Retract the mast fully before traveling in aisles. For sit-down forklifts, tilt the mast slightly back after picking up the load to cradle it against the backrest. Lower the load to travel height, 4 to 6 inches, before moving. Travel smoothly. Avoid sudden starts, stops, or turns. Best practice 4. Maintain line of sight. Never carry a load so high, wide, or bulky that it completely blocks your view of the travel path. If you cannot see over or around the load, travel in reverse, looking over your shoulder in the direction of travel. Or use a spotter, a second person who walks ahead and guides you through the area. Some of our furniture loads are tall, headboards, upholstered pieces, shelving units, and they can easily block your forward view. Don't try to peek around them. Turn around and drive in reverse, or call for a spotter. It adds a minute to the trip, but eliminates the risk of running into someone or something you can't see. Take your time with load handling. Rushing leads to dropped loads, damaged product, and tip-overs. At Metropolitan, we'd rather have a delivery go out 10 minutes late than have an operator get hurt because they were rushing.
Review and next steps. Quick recap of key topics. Key points we covered. 1. Why this training matters. Forklift incidents are preventable. Training is required by law. Only certified operators may operate PITs at Metropolitan. 2. How forklifts differ from cars. Rear wheel steering swings the back end out. Higher center of gravity. Mandatory seatbelt use. Constant load management required. 3. The stability triangle. 2 front wheels plus the rear axle pivot form a triangle. The combined center of gravity must stay inside the triangle. Keep loads low, don't turn with raised loads, slow down before turns. 4. Reading the capacity plate. The capacity plate tells you the machine's limits. Capacity changes with load center distance, lift height, and attachments. Never exceed the rated capacity. Report missing or damaged plates immediately. 5. Daily pre-use inspection. Required every shift before operating. Check tires, forks, mast, brakes, steering, horn, lights, safety devices, and fluid/battery.
Document findings. If a defect is found, tag it out and report it. 6. Battery and charging safety. Wear required PPE. Acid-resistant gloves, goggles, face shield, apron. No smoking or open flames near charging areas. Charge only in designated ventilated areas. No spill response procedures. 7. Safe operating rules. Keep loads low, no passengers, maintain visibility. Operate at safe speeds. Always be able to stop within the clear distance ahead. 8. Load handling best practices. Approach squarely. Secure the load before traveling. Use proper technique for the equipment type. Never block your line of sight. Open the floor for questions. Pause here and ask, what questions do you have before we move to the equipment-specific sections? Allow adequate time for questions. Answer thoroughly. If a question comes up that you're unsure about, write it down and commit to getting the answer. Never guess on safety topics.
What happens next? 1. Equipment-specific classroom training. The following slides cover safety points specific to each type of PIT used at Metropolitan. You will cover only the equipment types that apply to the operators in this session. Review the list: walkie electric pallet jack, ride-on electric pallet jack, electric tug, sit-down forklift, electric and propane, electric stand-up reach truck, and electric order picker. 2. Hands-on practical training. After the classroom session, each participant will receive hands-on training with the specific equipment they will be certified on. A qualified operator will demonstrate proper operation, and then each participant will practice under supervision. 3. Performance evaluation. Each participant will be evaluated on their ability to safely operate the equipment in our warehouse conditions. This includes pre-use inspection, safe travel, load handling, and awareness of hazards. 4. Certification. Certification is issued only upon successful completion of all 3 components: classroom, practical, and evaluation. Certification records will be maintained on file. Now we're going to cover safety points specific to each type of PIT you may operate at Metropolitan. Pay close attention to the equipment that applies to your role. If you're being certified on multiple equipment types, any of those sections apply to you. Before you operate any pit, final reminders and closing universal checklist applies to all pits, regardless of what powered industrial truck you operate: walkie pallet jack, ride-on, tug, sit-down forklift, reach truck, or order picker. These rules apply every single time you operate. 1. Complete the pre-use inspection. Every shift, every time. Document your findings. If something is wrong, tag it out and report it. No exceptions. 2. Confirm the equipment is right for the job. Use the right pit for the task. Don't use a pallet jack for a job that requires a forklift. Don't use a forklift when a reach truck is needed for narrow aisle work. Using the wrong equipment creates hazards that proper equipment selection eliminates. 3. Check the travel path before moving. Before you drive, look at where you're going. Check for pedestrians, obstructions, spills, uneven surfaces, overhead hazards, and anything else in your path. Do this every time you move, not just at the start of the shift. 4. Keep pedestrians separated from pit traffic. Use designated walkways, maintain awareness of people in your area, and communicate. Use the horn, make eye contact, and never assume a pedestrian sees you. 5. Report unsafe equipment immediately. If something doesn't feel right, sound right, or look right on the equipment, stop operating it. Tag it out of service and report the issue. A machine that's mostly working is a machine that's about to hurt someone. 6. Stop and ask if you are unsure. There is never a wrong time to ask a question about safety. If you don't know whether a load is too heavy, whether you're certified on a particular piece of equipment, whether a procedure is correct, stop what you're doing and ask your supervisor or trainer. Asking a question takes 30 seconds. Recovering from an incident can take a lifetime. Key message: every PIT is different. Operators must be trained and evaluated on the specific equipment they are expected to use. Your certification on one type of PIT does not authorize you to operate another type. If your role changes, if new equipment is introduced at your location, or if you transfer to a different metropolitan facility, you may need additional training and certification before operating unfamiliar equipment. Always confirm with your supervisor. Closing and next steps. Thank you for your time today. This is a significant amount of information.
and your willingness to learn it is the first step toward being a safe, competent operator. Answer any remaining questions. Take your time with this. Some participants may have questions they didn't feel comfortable asking during the session. Create an open environment. If a question comes up that requires research, write it down and commit to following up before or during the hands-on training. 1. Hands-on practical training. Each participant will now proceed to practical training with a qualified operator. You will work with the specific PIT you will be authorized to operate. The trainer will demonstrate proper operation, and then you will practice under direct supervision. 2. Performance evaluation. The qualified trainer will observe and evaluate your ability to operate the equipment safely. This includes pre-use inspection, safe travel, load handling, and hazard awareness. You must demonstrate competency.
3. Certification. Upon successful completion of the classroom training, hands-on practical training, and performance evaluation, Metropolitan will certify you as a qualified operator for the specific equipment types you were evaluated on. Your certification record, including your name, training date, evaluation date, and the name of your trainer, will be kept on file at your location. These records must be accessible at all times for OSHA, Cal-OSHA, or internal audit purposes. 4. Ongoing responsibility. Certification is not the end of your safety obligation. It is the beginning. Every day you operate a PIT, you are responsible for applying what you learned here. If you see unsafe behavior from yourself or others, speak up. If conditions change, report them. If you have an incident or near miss, refresher training will be provided as required by law. Final statement. Safety is not just a policy at Metropolitan. It is a value. Across our 14 PIT locations, hundreds of operators rely on this training to keep themselves and their coworkers safe every day. You are now part of that community. Every time you get on a piece of equipment, you carry the responsibility for your own safety and the safety of everyone around you. The person next to you has a family who expects them to come home in the same condition they arrived. So do you. Take that seriously. Operate with focus, follow the rules, and never take shortcuts. Thank you.